Hello, Maggie here, and welcome to my channel. Today I thought I'd share with you some of my favorite accessibility items. These are things that really help me on a day-to-day basis. They're things that are marketed as accessibility items, and some of them you can't even get like at the stores, but they're accessibility items that really help me out day to day. There are a lot of other things that I use day to day that are not marketed as accessibility items, and I will do a video later on about those, showing you some of my favorite things there. But for today, we're just doing things marketed as accessibility. I apologize if you can hear my cats in the background while I'm filming this. They decided that while I was filming was the time they needed to be extra loud and annoying. First off, I'm going to talk about my mobility aids. I have 5 of them, but some of them I use a lot more than others. But it is really useful to have all 5 of them for different use cases. I don't have the mobility aids with me right here because they're too big for this filming space. But if I have any B-roll video or photos or whatever, I'll insert them as I talk about them. First up is my cane, and this is probably my most used mobility aid. I use it anytime I leave the house, or, just if I'm going to be walking a lot. And sometimes I'll even use it in the house if I'm having a bad flare up of like my hip or my knee. It's great because it can easily go in the car with me, and it helps me keep a little balance, and also I can use it for momentum to get me going. It does, however, have some drawbacks. It really hurts my shoulder and my elbow sometimes because I can only use it on my right side. My left side isn't really strong enough to use it. So it has its limitations, and it's really only good when I'm walking. If I have to stand for a long period of time, that doesn't really work with me because walking is easier than standing still for me. Next up is my walker, and I really love my walker because it's the kind that has the seat. And so anytime that I'm out and about, but I have to sit for long periods of time, I like to bring my walker. I'll also put a cushion on the walker so that it's even comfier for long sitting periods. It's really great if I'm spending a day in the park with friends or something like that, because I can still move around and have freedom, but when I need to, I can sit and take a long rest. The drawback to the walker, though, is that it takes up a lot of room in a car. And so if I'm going somewhere with friends, I have to make sure that they've cleaned out their car before I can use it, and that's a pain in the butt for me and for them. Next up, I also have some crutches. I mostly just used these in 2015. I messed up my knee pretty bad and was on crutches for a few months, but I really don't like the crutches because they hurt my underarms, and they're just so unwieldy to use. But when you need them, they are very useful to have. In fact, my roommate has used them a couple times when he has messed up his knee. So it's really great to have them in the house. Next up, I have a wheelchair, and this one is so useful to have. I have a hard time propelling myself with it because shoulders and elbows are pretty bad for me. But it is really useful if I'm going to primarily be sitting around and not moving around to a lot of different places. When it's a place where I just go and then sit for a long time and then maybe move a little more and then sit, the wheelchair is so useful for that. Again, it takes up a lot of room in a car, and so it's hard to get to places, but it's really useful for when I need it. Last up on my list is my mobility scooter. This one I'm so lucky to have. I got it as a hand-me-down because someone had one but wasn't using it anymore. And they were like, hey, you could probably get some use out of this. And luckily I was able to get it for free, because mobility scooters are really expensive, but it is probably my favorite accessibility aid. It is even harder to fit in cars than any of the other mobility aids, but it gives me so much freedom. When I'm sitting on my mobility scooter, I can just go wherever I need to go. I can sit for long periods and the world is my stage. I can go wherever I need to go, and it's so nice. It does also need to be charged, and so that's another drawback of it, but it's worth it to me. Next up, I have 2 different gadgets for opening jars and cans and stuff. Between these 2 items, I can open just about any packaging known to man. Throw in a pair of scissors and some pliers and I can open anything. This one's great for opening jars. You stick it on the top, squeeze it, and then turn, and it opens just about anything. If the jar is particularly tricky to open, I will stick this on top and then put the jar in between my thighs, squeeze with my thighs, and use 2 hands to squeeze and turn. It's a bit of a hassle, but I can open any jar with this. Before I reach for that one though, I usually reach for this one. This part here goes inside the jar, you pop it open, and it lets a little bit of air in, which is usually enough to loosen the jar, and I can open it up. So this part's great for jars. This part right here I use for pull rings on cans. You slip it in, and you can lift it up, and then use your hand to open it all the way. Rotate the can around, slip it in the other side, pull, and it pulls the lid off for you. It's really useful. I use it all the time. I never open pull rings manually anymore. I always use this. And you can also use it for soda cans to pop up the little ring so that you can flip it the rest of the way. So useful. This bit right here I use for opening cartons of milk. You know how they've got the little white tab with the little ring? Those are so hard to open. So I slip this in and then use the whole weight of the tool against the top of the carton, and it flings the little white cap somewhere across the room, and I usually have to retrieve it later, but it gets it off of there really easily. This also has a regular can opener, but I think that part stopped working maybe 5 years ago. I have had this can opener since, I think it's been over a decade that I've had this. My stepdad sent it to me years and years ago, and he was just like, oh, this might be a helpful thing for you. And my goodness, was it. This is probably my most used accessibility aid besides the splints that I sleep in every night. Speaking of which, next up are these splints. I got them through physical therapy because when I fall asleep at night, I tend to curl my entire hand into tight fists and sleep like that. And then I wake up and my hands are so sore and they won't function. And you can see the damage is getting pretty bad on them. So I asked my physical therapist for some splints, and they're custom fit to my hands. And I just strap myself in every night. There's a little bit of wiggle room in the fingers, which is helpful because once I have this one strapped in, I can use the fingers to help me strap into the other one. And I just absolutely love these. They were free through insurance. I just had to do my physical therapy, which I needed to do anyway. So it was absolutely fantastic. Highly recommend getting physical therapy if you can, and getting some kind of like splints or support items if you need them. Next up, we have gadgets to help with aches and pains that I deal with on a daily basis. I absolutely love this massage gun. It basically just punches your muscles and it helps relax them so much. My shoulders and neck tend to get really, really tight, especially if I don't sleep super well. and that can cause migraines, and that's not anything I ever want to deal with. So if I notice my shoulders starting to get tight, I'll use this. And it is rechargeable, but I haven't charged this thing in months and it still works great. I use it for maybe 5 minutes at a time over the whole length of my neck and shoulders. But it's so fantastic and it really helps loosen me up. Next up, I have these itty bitty heat and ice packs. So you can stick it in the freezer and it's a great ice pack, or I put it in the microwave for 12 seconds and it's a miniature heat pack. I used it for period cramps when I was getting periods. Thank you, birth control. I don't have to deal with those anymore. I most often use them for migraines, and I don't even stick it in the freezer because the ambient temperature of these is fairly cool. And so I just stick it on my forehead, and it's not like an ice pack where it really cools me down, but it just takes away the excess heat, essentially, from when my forehead is really feeling hot from having a migraine. And these are so useful. They're so tiny. It came in a pack of 5, so I keep 2 of them in the freezer, and I keep one by my bedside table and one by my living room side table. And then if I need heat, I will take one of the ones from my side tables, stick it in the microwave for 12 seconds, and I've got a heat pack. Or I'll just use it as is to suck away the heat from my forehead. And if I need an ice pack, I'll just pull one from the freezer and I can use it on my elbow or wherever I'm hurting. And it's super convenient, especially because they're so small. When I'm camping, I like to keep one in the cooler, and that helps me prevent overheating. The last of my gadgets that are useful for aches and pains is a heating pad. Almost every disabled person I know has at least one heating pad. I actually have 2 of them. This is my smaller one that I use for traveling. Anytime I sleep somewhere that's not my own home, I bring this with me, and that way if I'm having issues, I can use it. But I also have one in the living room next to my seat that's always plugged in and ready to go. And that one actually shapes to your back around your shoulders and has a little collar up your neck. Because again, one of my biggest issues with muscle achiness is my neck and shoulders area. The little one I also use if I'm out and about, because sometimes I get really bad foot cramps. And when I'm at home, the way I take care of my foot cramps is I soak my feet in some hot water for a while in the tub. I just fill it with a couple inches of really warm water and I soak them. But if I'm camping or at a friend's house, it's a lot harder to do that. So I can use the heating pad, plug it in, turn it on to like medium or high, and wrap it around the foot that is having the cramp. And that really helps soothe it. And it takes longer than the bathtub and doesn't work as well, but in a pinch, it is a savior. Last up, we have a few items related to taking pills. The first of which is one of these weekly pill containers. It is absolutely necessary for me because I will forget to take my medicine, and I will forget if I have already taken my medicine. So I can just peek and be like, oh, look, yes, I already took them. And it keeps all of my medicine contained and ready to take because, frankly, I never remember until I'm filling my medicine container which pills I'm supposed to take when. Sometimes it changes. So having this to organize them is really useful to me. I have this one for my breakfast meds and my dinner time meds. And then I have another one in my bedroom that's just a single row. And I use that for my medicine that I have to take first thing in the morning. I have to take it an hour before I can eat. So I don't want to have to think about that one. I just want to be able to open my eyes in the morning, open it up, blindly take one pill, and then go to the bathroom. And I don't function well in the morning. And so having it there by itself is really useful. When I'm traveling, however, having to bring 2 separate medicine containers is annoying. So I found this online. It's super cute. You can open it up and it's got each of the days of the week, and each of these containers has 4 slots for pills. So I can put that morning one there, and then my breakfast ones go here, my dinner ones go here, and it's super useful. I also take a gummy to help me sleep, and that one goes here. So it's the perfect size for me. It wraps up super tiny, and you can have a week's worth of pills tucked away in a really stylish travel case. So I really love this one. Last up, I don't really have to use this that often. It's a pill splitter, but it also has a little puncher for those blister packs, because some of those pills are so hard to get out of the little blister packs. So this is really useful. The back here has a really sharp blade and a bit of a cushion where you can stick the pill in there and then slice it in half, and it's got a decent amount of leverage that you can really squeeze it. And then this front part has a little slot where you put the blister pack, and this part pushes it through, and you can do a bunch of pills at once, and it collects them in this lower spot that you can just open up and spill out your pills. I would suggest opening it upside down when it's closed, and then you can pop all of your pills out of there. Really useful to have. I don't have to use it super often, but it's great to have in the house just in case I do need to use it. And those are some of my favorite accessibility gadgets or items or whatever you want to call them. I hope you found this video useful. If any of the gadgets interest you, some of them I couldn't find exactly online, but I went on Amazon and found the closest thing I could to each of them, and the links will be in the doobly-doo below. But remember, you are not a burden. You are worthy of love and respect. I love you. Bye-bye.